Firebase is a service owned by Google, which is in many ways quite similar to Parse Server. It allows us to do things like database storage, authentication, and also messaging, notifications, and analytics. Now, while I'd recommend using Parse Server if you just need the database features, because Parse Server is self-hosted and so can't be affected by, for example, Google deciding to shut down Firebase, as Facebook did with Parse, Firebase is a great service and you might want to try using it. It's also a prerequisite for using Google's AdMob platform. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up an app with Firebase. And then in the next video, we'll see how to add ads to a Firebase app. So first off, we need to create an account on Firebase. So you go to firebase.google.com and log in with your Google account and click Get Started for free. Firebase does have a pretty generous free tier, but of course you will need to start paying if you use large amounts of data. So I'm then going to create a new project, and I'll just call this Firebase Demo Project. Choose your country and then create project. And there we go. So we want to add Firebase to our Android app. And to do that, we need a package name. So let's quickly jump over to Android Studio and create a new project for this demo app. So we'll call it Firebase Demo App. And just in case you missed it there, our package name is going to be com.robpercival.firebase-demo-app. And I've been using Nougat there, but we'll go down to Lollipop. It doesn't really matter, but we'll support more devices in this demo app. And then set that up as usual. And then we can jump back over to Firebase and enter com.robpercival.firebase demo app. There we go. If you want extra security, you can use a signing certificate, but we'll just use the package name for now. That then allows us to download a Google Services JSON file, which we can put in our app directory, which contains all the settings that we need to connect to Firebase. And then, as it says there, we can just check and make sure that Google Services.json is in the right place. It should be in the app directory. So if we tap on project and then in the drop down here at the top there, select project, expand that, and there we go. Our Google Services.json file is in there, so I'm just going to drag it into the app folder. And there we go. So now it's in the app folder in the right place. So we'll click continue, and then we need to add 2 lines to our build Gradles. So first we've got the project level build Gradle. This will allow us to use the Google Services JSON file and the Google Services that it uses. So back to Android, and then open up the first build.gradle file for the project, and then we'll add in under dependencies. There we go, com.google.gms and then Google Services 3.0.0. Obviously, if that version number has changed, then use the version specified by Firebase. And then we'll add the plugin to the app level build Gradle. So that's that one there. So to the very bottom of the file, we add apply plugin and then com.google.gms.google services. And then we also need to add the Firebase modules themselves, which we do in the dependencies section here. And we use compile and then com.google.firebase and then Firebase core, Firebase hyphen core, and then 9.4.0. And we also need, if we're going to be using the database, which we will do just as a check that everything's working okay, we use com.google.firebase Firebase hyphen database 9.4.0. And then we click sync now, and that will add those plugins and dependencies to our app. And now that's done, we can write a little bit of code in the main activity. And we'll just write a very simple bit of code which will connect to the database and save an object for us, just like we have on Parse Server. So to do this on Firebase, we start off by creating a database reference, which I'll call dbref. And this is going to be equal to Firebase database dot get instance dot get reference. And that will get the database created as part of your Firebase app. And then we'll just create a simple map which will link strings to strings. And I'll call this values. So it's just an object that we're going to store in the database. And this is going to be a new hash map. Then we'll set some values. So values.put and something like name Rob. That's all we need. And then to save that to the database, we use dbref.push and then set value. And we can just use values like that. That will save it in the database. But we always like to have a callback so we know it's been successful. So we're going to create a new completion listener, which, just like with Parse Server, gives us the default onComplete method. And again, we can do, as we're reasonably used to, something like if database error equals null, log save successful, else log save failed. There we go. So you can see the logic is quite similar to Parse Server. One quick change we're going to need to make before we run that is to add the internet permission. So we'll add users permission, name is android.permission.internet. There we go. So we'll run that on our device. And as it's running, I'm going to make a quick change on Firebase. Now, the default on Firebase databases is that the user has to be logged in to be able to save anything, because we're not going to go as far as user authentication in this small introduction to Firebase. I'm going to change those rules. So we're going to tap over there where it says rules, and I'm just going to change the not equal to equal to, and then publish. And that will mean that the user doesn't have to be logged in to read and write to the database. Okay, so let's have a look. It's launching the activity. And there we go. You can see save successful. So as with parse server, let's have a quick look back on the database, and you can see we've got our object there, so object ID. And if we open it up, you can see we've saved the name Rob. Super. So if you want to go further with Firebase, then I'd just start with the documentation there and work your way through creating some basic apps. But we're going to go on to look at how we can use Firebase as a basis for ad mob and putting ads in our apps, which is a great way of generating revenue, particularly on Android. And we'll do that in the next video.